The clock clicked 12 times. Max's eyes opened wide. He was awake, wide awake. Moonlight spilled through his window. It painted a silver square on the floor. Luna, his cat, sat on the windowsill. Her green eyes glowed. Max tossed off his covers. The night air was cool against his skin. He tiptoed to the window. Luna rubbed against his leg, purring softly. "Want to go on an adventure, Luna?" Max whispered. Luna's purr rumbled in response. Max climbed out the window. He landed softly on the grass below. The backyard was dark and silent. Shadows stretched long and thin from the trees. Max shivered. It was a good night for an adventure. He glanced back at his house. Everyone was asleep. He was on his own. This was his chance to prove he was brave. He took a deep breath and walked towards the shadows. Max's heart pounded in his chest. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a branch made him jump. He imagined eyes watching him from the darkness. Luna stayed close, her soft fur brushing his leg. He walked faster, his sneakers crunching on the sidewalk. Streetlights cast an eerie glow on the empty streets. The houses were dark, everyone inside sound asleep, everyone except Max. A low growl came from the shadows. Max froze. Luna hissed, her back arching. Max held his breath, listening. The growl came again, closer this time. Max's hand trembled as he reached for Luna's collar. He had to be brave. The old Sprocket mansion loomed ahead. It was the biggest house in town. It was also the creepiest. People said it was haunted. Max had always wanted to see for himself. The iron gates creaked open as if inviting him in. The mansion was dark except for a single light in a top window. That light beckoned him forward. Max swallowed his fear and stepped onto the overgrown lawn. The grass was damp and cold beneath his feet. He could hear Luna's claws clicking on the stone path. They were getting closer, closer to the light, closer to the mansion's secrets. Max pushed open the heavy oak door. It groaned in protest. The air inside was stale and dusty. Cobwebs hung from every corner. Strange shadows danced on the walls. He stepped inside, his heart pounding like a drum. He could hear the faint whirring of gears and the hiss of escaping steam. Mr. Sprocket was an inventor, and his house was full of bizarre gadgets. Then he saw it, a shape in the darkness, a shadow, darker than the surrounding darkness. It had eyes, red eyes that glowed in the dark. Luna hissed again, louder this time. "Max," she seemed to say, "we need to leave. Now!" Section 5, Flight to the Unknown. Max didn't need to be told twice. He turned and ran, Luna at his heels. He could hear the shadow moving behind them, its heavy footsteps echoing in the silence. He raced through the mansion's twisting corridors, his breath catching in his throat. He had to find a place to hide, a place to escape. Suddenly, a door flew open ahead of them. A figure stood bathed in light. It was Mr. Sprocket, his white hair standing on end. "Max!" he shouted, his voice frantic. "Down here, quickly!" Section 6, A Desperate Stand. Max and Luna scrambled through the doorway. Mr. Sprocket slammed the door shut and bolted it. They were in the basement, surrounded by strange machines and blinking lights. "It's after me, Max," Mr. Sprocket said, his voice trembling. "It's been trapped here for years, and now it's loose." The shadow slammed against the door. The wood splintered. Max's heart pounded in his chest. They were trapped. Section 7, Light Against Darkness. Mr. Sprocket ran to a massive control panel. He flipped switches and turned dials. Sparks flew. The machines around them whirred and sputtered to life. "Hold on, Max!" Mr. Sprocket shouted over the noise. "I can defeat it, but I need more power!" The shadow broke through the door. It lunged towards them, its red eyes burning with hatred. Max closed his eyes, bracing for the worst. Section 8. Momentary Triumph. A blinding light filled the basement. Max shielded his eyes. He could hear a deafening roar like the sound of 1,000 thunderstorms. When he finally opened his eyes, the shadow was gone. Mr. Sprocket slumped against the control panel, his face pale with exhaustion. "It's gone," he whispered. "I banished it back to the darkness." Max let out a sigh of relief. He looked around the brightly lit basement. The machines hummed softly. Luna rubbed against his leg, purring. They were safe, or so they thought. Section 9. A looming threat. A shadow fell across the floor. Max's blood ran cold. He turned slowly, dreading what he would see. It was back, the shadow, standing in the doorway. Its red eyes glowed even brighter than before, and this time it seemed even angrier. The adventure wasn't over, it was just beginning.